Hello and welcome to Nolan Financial Radio. My name is Chris McKinney from Nolan Financial Partners. If you'd like more information about what you're hear during our show today, give us a call at 719-210-4242 or visit us online at NolanFinancialPartners.com. And while at our website, click on the radio page, check out our past shows, and subscribe to our program on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. As a financial services professional, one of the most important tasks I have is helping my clients build enough dependable retirement income so that they can maintain their preferred lifestyle and have the kind of retirement they have always dreamed about. So during today's show, we're going to discuss retirement income and how much you're going to likely need. But before we get rolling, let me introduce you to my co-host, Tony Shore, who's already planning his first fishing trip this year.
No, spring is in the air though. And that means for a lot of people, it's time to maybe, soon they'll be out on the lakes in their boats. But when it comes to today's topic, it's a good one because there aren't many more things more important to retirement than reliable income. I mean, we all need reliable income in retirement. And I know that's a big part of what you do for your clients and solving for income in retirement. That's the problem. And there are solutions. But hey, I'm doing good. I'm in Minnesota, but it's supposed to hit 70 degrees here today.
Oh.
And then by tomorrow night, snow. How is that possible?
Well, here's how it's possible. We hit 70 degrees yesterday.
Yeah.
And today it's snowing. Right now, I'm looking outside and it's starting to.
And it starts on the west and it moves east. And so that's what's happening to us.
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
You're just a day behind us.
I'm a day behind you. It moved all the way over to Minnesota already. That warm air. So we're gonna get the warm air today. And I wanted to work outside tomorrow and thought, it's gonna be a nice weekend because it's 70 on Friday. You assume it's gonna be decent the whole weekend. No.
Yeah. Well, here in the Springs, we've had a whole week of warm weather, so things are starting to turn green.
Yeah, we've had a week of warm weather. Almost a week. It's not turning green yet, but wow.
Well, I'm afraid for some of our trees.
Yeah, that's the problem. Freeze again. Yeah, when they start to bud and then it freezes, that's not good.
Not good. Not good for those leaves.
No, it isn't. Yeah. Yeah, that's not good. Well, hey, let's jump in here. It is spring. Spring is in the air. That's a good thing. That's a positive thing. And also figuring out how much retirement income you're going to need. You help people do this all the time. And
I do.
But it's tough. I mean, everybody's situation is different, right? And that's
right.
It's a gamble because no one knows how long you're going to live. I mean, if we all knew our end date, if we had an expiration date that we could use, that would make it pretty easy, right?
Real easy. I know I'm going to die when I'm 75. I spend all my money down till I'm 75.
Right.
No problem.
Right. Unfortunately, it is a problem, but you still need to figure out, even if you knew the date, you still have to have a plan in place to make your money last as long as you do. Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky task, and it is really good to talk to somebody who knows all the tricks. Right. So it's good to talk to a financial service professional because you may have a solid idea of what your expenses are now, and how much you're going to need in retirement. But there's some things that are going to continue retirement maybe you didn't know about. Maybe there's some things that are kind of come up in retirement that you didn't know about. And look, no one wants a lower standard of living in retirement. You want to be able to have the lifestyle you had while you were working, but you want it to be plus because, hey, I worked so hard. I want to have my dream life now. After I retire, I'm still mobile. I can move around. I can do things. I can have hobbies. I can travel. I can go see, go whatever, right? Everything. If you haven't seen the Grand Canyon, got to go see the Grand Canyon.
Oh yeah.
Those are the kind of things that you are on people's bucket list. They got to get done.
Yeah.
So you still have your housing and your utility bills to cover. But it also, those things vary by stage, right? So say you live near a downtown, and all of a sudden the taxes on that house go through the roof. You can talk to people in Denver about this. They in retirement, then now they can't afford the house they're living in just simply because the taxes got to be over $10,000 a year. So even though it's a small home, it's about the location. So now they've got to move. They've got to figure that out. And so now, but they can sell that house for a lot of money because of its location. And they can move to Colorado Springs, then get a bigger house.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
So that's kind of a good problem, bad problem to have. But if you're wanting to stay in the home, you've got to make sure you plan for those kind of situations that might happen, and then make sure that you can flow with them, right? So by mid-retirement, expenses often decline because life starts to settle in a little bit, right? It becomes a steadier rhythm. You've kind of checked off your bucket list mostly, or 100%. And then also your health may start to wane a little bit. And so you may want to make sure that you account for the cost of increase in healthcare and potential long-term care needs. Those are things that we help everybody plan for.
Yeah, that's it's all part of it, and especially solving for income. But I think where it starts is, I hate to use the B word, but people have to figure out what they're spending now to know what they're going to need to spend in retirement, right?
Right. So know what your spending plan is right now, so you can figure out what your spending plan is later. And that'll give you a really good idea of what you have to have. And you want to know kind of your bottom number. You want to know what your bottom number is. So, but then you got to think about it. Well, yeah, but what do I need on top of that? And so that's really where we have helped a lot of people understand what they really need to have on top of their bare base minimum. Because most people think about their spending plan, their B word, as their expenses. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's your expenses, but what if you want to pay for little Billy's student loans? What if what if you want to have good teeth?
Yeah.
What if you want to have new windows?
I don't want to pay for little Billy's student loans, but I probably have to.
Right.
should help out. Yeah.
I co-signed on them. Oh no.
Yeah.
So, but I've had a lot of clients that for some reason in retirement, they go and buy new windows.
Isn't that crazy?
I swear 50%
can be $80,000 if you get good windows like Anderson windows and have them come out and install.
That's
it's
exactly
outrageously expensive.
Outrageously expensive. It's
I mean, it's great. You're going to have great windows and they'll last you your lifetime and probably someone else's lifetime if you
right.
But I mean, it's an outrageous expense. Yeah.
It is. And so so those are the kind of things that you're going to encounter in retirement that's not part of your monthly spending plan. And so we just want to make sure that you have an idea that those things may happen, and that we have an account that can help flex with you in retirement as those needs flex, right? So we always build that into retirement plans. We had a client that came in a long time ago. I think it was 2013, and she was going to be retiring in a few years. She said she was going to need $36,000 a year in retirement. And so sure enough, we planned for 50, and sure enough, she's at 50.
Yep. There you go.
So that's just kind of how it works. And she's one of the 3 people that got windows.
Wow.
She didn't get the Anderson windows, but still it was not cheap.
Oh yeah. No, they're all expensive. I mean, windows are expensive. Yeah.
Well, because you're going to change all of them,
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to, well, that window's okay, I won't change that one. But then your house looks like crap. So you don't do it.
Yeah, you're gonna have
Can be
all
done.
the same windows. Do it all at once. Yeah,
Right.
that's tough.
So I was reading through a survey, 2022 spending and retirement survey done by the Employee Benefit Research Institute. They studied 2,000 Americans between 62 and 75, and the vast majority reported spending less than $4,000 a month. I was a little surprised by that number. 4,000 is not a lot. So
no,
that survey said that the average spending was about $64,000 a year, but most spend less than $40,000 a year. 68% of the people that they surveyed spent less than $40,000 a year. So that's a lot.
Yeah, I'm surprised as well.
Yeah. Now I don't know who answers surveys, so maybe maybe there's some bias in the survey because I don't think Elon Musk is answering that survey. Maybe.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's not like Bill Gates is sitting there.
Yeah. So it may be skewed to the lower end of things. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, probably a little bit, but yeah.
But that was interesting to me that it was that small, because here in Colorado we plan for normally people to have a base of like 60,000 a year.
Yeah.
So that's a base, and then whatever they want to do on top of that, they can do. Now everybody's different, right? So when I say 60,000 as a base, we move that up or down depending on what your situation is.
Sure.
And how things are going to go for you and what your plan is. Because some people have different plans, right?
Right.
Oh, I'm going to sell my house and moving in with my kids. I'm like, oh, okay.
Do your kids know this?
Yeah.
That's my question. But you've said before, Chris, that spending less in retirement can come organically because you're not filling up your car for a daily commute, buying work clothes, doing work lunch, going out to lunch with coworkers. These things are less. There are certain things you spend more on, maybe traveling or things for the grandkids, but there are expenses that you do lose when you retire, and obviously you stop contributing to all the retirement benefits you've been contributing to. So that's a little bit of extra money. So there are reasons why your cost of living can go down in retirement. But to that, I say, do I want to take a pay cut in retirement?
Nope.
Nobody wants to take a pay cut. We're used to making what we're used to living on, right?
That's right. And who wants to have to turn off half their streaming services every year, right?
Yeah.
So who wants to manage that? Nobody. That's who. So
exactly.
What's what are you going to give up if you don't have a good plan? So that's a challenge. So I want to make sure nobody's giving up anything.
Right.
We have a good plan. So there are 5 primary sources of income for people. Now the government has the Social Security.
Yeah.
That may be going through some changes. We don't know. Investment portfolios, right? So you got your investments. There's these things called annuities. If you haven't heard about them, ask your financial service professional. They can tell you about those. If they can't tell you about those, then you need to give me a call. You can work part-time. And then a lot of people here in Colorado Springs have pensions because they're federal employees or their military pensions. And then some people still have some pensions from some of the old pensions from like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and these companies.
Yeah. So it is interesting. And pensions, I mean, the pension has gone the way of the pension. That's what I like to say.
That's right.
Right. But, government workers, I'm not going to name names, Tara and Chris, who have put some time in and get a government, will be getting government pensions. But
that's still subject to federal law, right?
Right. Yeah. You're at the whim of the government to get that pension, and you better watch out. They're slashing. So
I know.
we'll see what happens.
Right.
But at the same time, the majority of the Americans have to rely on Social Security and their 401k money or 403b or TSP money, right?
That's right. And so it's
Yeah.
really important that you set up the money for your retirement yourself. So, and that is contributing to a 401k, having a personal IRA, other type of retirement accounts, and start small if that's what you need to do. And then make sure you're filling up that 401k and getting that employer match. But also I always recommend that people have their own personal IRA, personal Roth, so that they can sweep money into that they have extra, so that they can have that they control. They can say they have the whole gamut of the investment world on where to put that money, instead of the 401k, which says, okay, here's the 10 mutual funds you can use, or whatever platform they're on, depending on the platform they're on.
Sure.
So if you have your own, then you can decide where they go, and you can manage it, and you can see if, that mutual fund or that stock is not doing what I want it to do. I need to go over here. So you have your own, or have it through a professional manager, like ourselves.
Yeah.
We use professional management. You have your own IRA, but then we professionally management, and then you help us decide where it goes by telling us the strategy for that money. So you're still in a lot more control than the 401ks that you have.
Yeah. So there are different, obviously, those different asset classes for retirement, like you're talking about Social Security, IRA versus 401k. You have the employer sponsored accounts like 403bs, 457s, 401ks, TSPs, right?
Of course.
But you're right. You do have more freedom if you roll it over into your own personal IRA, whether that's a traditional or, depending on your situation, a Roth. So you have a tax-free bucket of money growing.
Yes.
Do you, I'm sure you talk to your clients about the Roth possibilities, and have some clients with Roths, tax-free options, or?
Yeah, we do. We have some clients that really want to not have taxes retirement, and not have taxes impact their budget in retirement.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? Well, you use tools like a Roth, some other various tools where the money is tax deferred, tax free. Some that where you can control the tax deferral, right? And so that's not an IRA, because you can't control the tax deferral in an IRA. At some point, you got to start paying those taxes. And so once you can control how your money is taxed, then you can potentially get to zero tax in retirement. I just met with a client 2 weeks ago, and they're now he's 72, and I think she's just a little bit younger than he is, and they're going to be in zero taxes in retirement pretty soon. We already got them down to where they're only having to pay 50% of taxes on their Social Security instead of the normal 85%. So we're working our way, and we're going to get there, I think, next year.
Wow.
So looking forward to that. And we're talking people that had over almost $2 million in retirement savings.
Wow. To get to a point where you don't pay any taxes in retirement. But that's the thing. When people sit down and they might do a budget or look at how much spending money they're going to need, then they look at how much money they have in their retirement accounts and how much they're getting for Social Security, and they think, well, I can figure this out. Okay. We need this much to live on, and we have this much, and we'll take out 4% a year or whatever they figure, and we'll make it. It'll last as long as we do. But they haven't figured in tax. A lot of times, if you try to do it yourself, did you figure in taxes? How did you do that? How much taxes are you going to have? How many of those accounts are taxable? Is your Social Security going to be taxable? It's either going to be 0, 50% of what you bring in is taxable, or 85, right?
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So taxes is a huge factor, and there are so many other little factors that go into it that I know the average person isn't going to be able to remember to coordinate all of those calculations. And you have reports you can run, and I think you got to work with a financial services professional in this. It's just too critical, and there's too many moving parts. So there are other factors that influence how much you're going to need in retirement, like inflation. Is that something, Chris, that you calculate for your clients?
It is. It's something
you add
that
that into your calculations for what they need?
Yes, it's in our planning software so that we can put in kind of what we think it's going to be.
Sure.
Generally you use something like 1.5 or 2%. And so it's in there. And so when we, I have a little slider on the side of my software, and I can move that up through their ages, and and I'll show them how much more income is going to come to them to account for the inflation and for the various eroding factors of money. Because there's more eroding factors than just inflation.
True.
So that inflation and those eroding factors are accounted for in our plan. And so that way, if you say, well, I can next week retire on $60,000 a year. Okay, great. Well, let's make sure that in about 10 years, you've got about 72,000, because that's what you're going to need in equivalent money from today. So we have that software, and it's really nice to be able to see it graphically so you can understand how it's going to impact you down the road.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think that's really important to do. Now, before we move on, let's take a moment. If our listeners have questions or they want that report run so they can figure that out, what they're going to need in retirement, how can they get a hold of you?
So they can reach me at 719-210-742. That's just 210-4242.
All right, give that number again.
719-210-4242. Give us a call or check us out at our website, NolanFinancialPartners.com. Give us a call right now. We'll help you with that Social Security maximization report and financial planning software that we have, so we can show you how you can best retire. 719-210-4242.
All right. Well, okay. So for the remainder of the show, we've got about for the next 5 minutes. What else do we need to know? I mean, this has been a great conversation so far. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I wanted to talk about the so we talked about the 4 potential sources of retirement income.
Yep.
So we talked about annuities a little bit. And so what we like to do with annuities is set up systematic withdrawals for people from those annuities, so you know what you're going to have. And so that's what's great about annuities. They never lose value. The annuities that we set up, they can go up in value, they can stay the same, but they don't go down in value.
Your principal is protected. So it's that principal protection. And with an annuity, your principal is protected. And in a lot of cases, if you have a lifetime income rider, like Social Security, you have a set amount will be there each month from that annuity, right?
That's
you
right.
Can set
That's
that
right.
up.
You set up, yeah. So you have that set amount you're going to have. And so that sets your baseline. And then what we then do is look at, well, okay, what if you outlive this money? Well, I don't think you are, but what if you do? Well, we have a strategic dynamic investing plan that we put people in. We have professional management on it so that we have money way down the line and we have money for the future. So that's kind of where we're at with how to do that. Now, there are some alternative investments that are out there. We'll help you look at those if you want to look at those. There are some that are good. There are some that are bad and have turned out to be Ponzi schemes, and people have lost their jobs over this. So you got to be really careful with alternative investments.
Yes, you do.
Because you can lose all your money.
Yeah. You don't, especially in retirement, you don't want to take a lot of risk. I mean, you don't want to be hitting the things like Bitcoin and things like that, because it's pretty risky.
It's pretty risky. I mean, you may make lots of money, but you may not.
You may
and
lose a
then
lot of money
you can
too.
lose a lot of money. And anytime you're going through those marketplaces, how many of those are reputable, right? I mean, one of the biggest ones in the world was not. So just because it's big doesn't mean that it's reputable. It became a Ponzi scheme real fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you have to be careful with alternative investments. The Ponzi scheme is
Yeah.
just so enticing for people.
Hmm.
When a former head of the SEC starts running a Ponzi scheme,
Yeah. That's crazy.
isn't that crazy? So you gotta make sure that you're in the right places, and that's why you go talk to somebody like myself on what those professional uh, managers can do for you. So it's really good that if you're younger, you start early. I don't know if have you ever heard of dollar cost averaging, Tony?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So when in your working years, you're putting money into the market on a regular basis, and that's dollar cost averaging. So in a week like we've had, Chris, which,
Yes.
which, hey, when you ask me how I'm doing today, I'm like better than the market has. I've had a better week than the market. So if that means anything.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, when the market's down 10%, like it is right now, and has a
Yeah.
correction, that's good for you and I because we're putting money in on a regular basis. Now, it might
Right.
not be great if you're in retirement, if you don't have things like an annuity or other types of uh, income that
That's
will
right.
be there each month. Yeah, I dollar cost averaging is where you take money and put it into the market on a regular basis, like
Right.
once a month or twice a month. You're putting money into them, into your funds or into your 401k or your investments, and then you're dollar cost averaging your way in your market. So you're going to hit some downtimes in there and catch that growth, and it's going to help the compounding
That's right.
interest. Am I right?
But you're exactly right. When you're dollar cost averaging, you're buying at more shares at lower points of the market
Sure.
than you're buying when the market is high.
Sure.
And so it's basically like timing a little bit, but you just do it on a schedule. And so because you're only putting a fixed dollar amount, you're buying more shares when it's low. So
Yeah.
that's all it is you're buying more shares when it's low.
Yeah.
And so that's great. So do you know what the problem for that is in retirement?
Well, yeah, you're not putting money into the market in retirement. You're pulling out
You're
as well. Even if you are putting money into the market, if you have
Yeah,
some income source and you put money in, like a part-time job or something, you're pulling money out.
yeah.
And
So
during
you're
your working
typically
years, you're hopefully just leaving it grow, right?
right. So in retirement, you're typically pulling the money out, and
Yeah.
you want to set it up so you get monthly because you get monthly bills, and that's how we spend our money monthly. And so if you pull monthly on a regular schedule, now you're selling more shares. Um, you're using dollar cost averaging. It's hurting you. It's the other way.
Yes. It's the
So
opposite.
it's the
Yeah.
opposite. So it helps you when you're purchasing. It hurts you when you're buying when you're selling.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge, and that's what we help people work through. How to have some other funds when the market's low, so you can pause those distributions when the market is bad.
Yeah, you have to have other income sources other than just pulling from the
Yes.
stock market your entire retirement. And so many people think I've got 401ks and IRAs, I'm just going to retire and use that money, and they don't ever do anything. They say, "Well,
Yep.
I'm diversified." They say you need balance. I've got balance. I'm really diversified. I've got, I've got bonds and I've got so you don't have any protected principal or quote unquote they say guaranteed income or income that will be there each month. So yeah,
I
that's the key is that's why you work with a financial professional. Now we're out of time. So
oh,
before we go, let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you, Chris.
please give us a call at 719-210-4242. Check us out at our website, NolanFinancialPartners.com. We have some complimentary consultations set aside on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So give us a call, 719-210-4242.
All right, sounds great. And that does it for today's episode of Nolan Financial Radio.
Join us again soon for another episode of Nolan Financial Radio. Take care of each other, folks.